Michael O'Leary, the CEO of Ryanair Group. It's a great pleasure to be with you here again today on the occasion of this A4E event. I've been delegated to give you an update on progress on the single aviation market. As you know, the single aviation market has been one of the transformational developments in the European Union and the common market. Over the last 20-30 years, thanks to the single market for air travel, which is at the forefront of the European agenda, is the freedom of goods, people and services to move freely across Europe. Millions of Europeans have been able to travel, work, study, live across Europe. Deregulation and competition between the airlines has dramatically lowered the cost of air travel, bringing it within the pocket of every European citizen, regardless of income. We've freed Europe from the previous regime under which you had to be one of the rich 1% to be able to fly. But the single aviation market is incomplete. We have been here now for 10 years calling for a reform of the European Airport Charges Directive, particularly in a post-COVID world where many of the biggest and richest European airports seek to recover their lost revenues from customers, the airlines, and our passengers. This is unacceptable. London Heathrow is a perfect case in point. They were shelling out dividends during COVID to their state-owned shareholders, and yet as we emerge out of COVID, they claim now an inability to be able to invest in their facilities without increasing airport fees by 50%. This is simply unacceptable, and we need action from the European Commission to deliver the much-promised but sadly still undelivered reform of the European Air Charges Directive. On air passenger rights, it has now been a decade since the Commission promised a reform of EU261. We all support passenger rights. When we do something wrong, when we cause a delay or a cancellation, a passenger is entitled to compensation. However, the vast majority of flight delays and cancellations today, tomorrow and in recent weeks have been caused by French air traffic control strikes. We have to provide right to care. We provide compensation for those flight delays and cancellations, and yet we're not allowed to recover those costs from the people who are causing these delays and cancellations, which is the French Air Traffic Control Service, who are protected by immunity, from governmental immunity, from action. This is manifestly unfair. EU261 is now costing Europe's passengers €5 billion on an annualised basis, and yet the scandal of ATC strikes continues. In the first 3 months of last year, In the first 3 months of last year, there was 3 days of French air traffic control strikes. In the first 3 months of this year, so far, we've had 23 and still counting. I'll give you an example of what happened. Over the last weekend, we had French air traffic control strikes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Ryanair, which is Europe's largest airline, but only one airline, we were forced to cancel 230 flights over the past weekend. We cancelled the flights of 41,000 passengers because French air traffic control wouldn't allow us to overfly France. We delayed and had flight delays affecting 2,200 flights. That was 400,000 of our passengers in the last 3 days had their flights delayed because the French air traffic control unions want to go on strike. Now, we all support the right to strike. However, the French use minimum service legislation to protect the vast majority of French domestic flights. So while French air traffic control are on strike, the French are flying away happily immune to these strikes. All of the cancellations are being taken by overflights. So British people flying to Spain, Germans going to Portugal, Irish people connecting to Italy. We have our flights cancelled or significantly delayed on a daily basis because the French air traffic controllers want to go on strike. Eurocontrol wrote to the European Commission in December of last year calling for action. And it's not radical action. They suggest that we should have minimum services applied to air traffic control services across Europe. We should protect overflights during periods of national ATC strikes. And we ask the question, why has nothing been done? Commissioner Vălean will show up here for 10 minutes, give you a very brief summary of what she's done in the last 2 years, then scuttle out. But ask her why she's not taking any action on protecting overflights, on protecting the right to freedom of movement of European citizens, and protecting the single market for air travel. The European Union has done a terrific job during the Brexit negotiations of prioritising the single market and protecting the single market. Yet when a bunch of French air traffic controllers want to go on strike, hands up, do nothing. We're calling on Commissioner von der Leyen in the absence of any action from Commissioner Valiant, to take action. We want protection of overflights. People should have, and air traffic controllers should have the right to strike. But if there's going to be flight cancellations, it should be the domestic flights in that country that take that hit. The Italians already do this, they protect overflights. The Greeks protect overflights. Why isn't the European Union doing likewise? So we're calling today, and we've set, in Ryanair, and I speak here for Ryanair, we've set up a petition. We want to get 1 million signatories over the next 3 months, and then we will submit that to the European Commission, asking Commissioner von der Leyen and her Commission to take some action to protect the single market for air travel, which is on a daily basis being shut and impinged by French air traffic controllers.